So good morning, one and all. Are you able to see my screen? So good morning, everyone. On behalf of Naujawan Center for Development, Hina, am I audible?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
And my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Also, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. And now, on behalf of Naujawan Center for Development, I would like to welcome you on the webinar called FCRA Question and Answer. So, so the first of all, I would like to congratulate everyone for putting their efforts for the changing the society. As we know that we all are passionate people and have a commitment to build the nations by giving the different kind of the services. And today we are going to discuss the amendments and all the critical questions that we received at the time of registration. So the session is participatory in nature. Whenever you feel you are feel free to ask the questions. But I will share up to 20 minutes. I will share the very important things that we need to understand. So as on today, if we see the status of FCRA registration in the country, and you might be aware that in India there are there are different the assumptions and argument and database that we have. But we can say we have 30 to 40 million NGOs in the country. Out of that, only 22,436 organizations having a FCRA registration. So, and 20,674 organizations, they lost their FCRA due to various reasons. And 6,670 organization status is deemed on expire as on today. So, what I mean to say, suppose if you are FC registered organization, then you need to take out on the certificate that because you are in a 22,000 organization having a valid FCRA certification. Right, so that is one thing. Now, moving toward the next slide. If we the detail that we have received from the website of Lok Sabha, and the member of parliament has asked the various questions during the parliament session, and the data received from there. So for 15, 16, for 17, 16, 17, and 17, 18, approximate we are the receiving 16 to 17,000 crore rupees every year under FCRA. So if we if we wanted to take the mean, so every year we are receiving 16,000 crore rupees under FCRA. So this is one of the good things that Indian organization is getting a good amount from the abroad, right? So this is the current things. Now, as per the recent statistics, if you see this particular data, the Down to Earth is one of the online media portal claim that in India there is a 4 million non-profits, registered non-profits. So 40 lakh hai, right? And this is the very old data, but there are various assumptions. So if we see the landscape of our country, that there are many organizations, but they are not active in nature. So now, if we look at the whole world, there will be the data which is we have taken from the various online portals. So across the world, there is a 10 million NGOs, right? And if we consider the NGO is one of the country, then NGO becomes the fifth largest economy in the world. So it is the as good as like India in terms of our turnover and the charity that we are doing. And one of the it is a global report. So 85% people believe that the NGOs are doing the good jobs and they are working good with the society. So they are a key instrument for the changing this society. So this is some of the international fact. Now, if you are coming to the point, that we are our purpose of meeting is that the one letter that is received by this the most of the organization by email, right? So this is about the reporting to the COVID-19, right? So whether you received this letter or not, if you wanted to the report to the ministry about your COVID-19 relief related work, you are free to do this thing. Now, for that purpose, you have to log in your FCRA account, right? So mostly all the organizations, they receive such letters. But now, if you log in your account, there will be two situations. So one is the one form will be open, and this form you have to submit, right? So it has very simple detail, but let us explain over here, like email of the associations, name of chief functionaries, COVID-19 response detail, right? So detail of the government office is approached by the associations, type of support like materials, equipment purchase and distributions, meeting, gathering, address, whatever, voluntary work. So suppose if you have distributed dry kits, anything that we can write over here, the work we have done, and it is not related to FC only. So suppose if you have done work from the non-FC amount or from domestic account, you are also the advised to submit this detail. Now see, there are different arguments, like suppose what happen if we will not submit this detail. See, this is the completely voluntary, the demand from the department, right? But if we I would suggest that as an organization, if we are working in a non-profit space and we have a very genuine legal status, so it is better we will report our activity to the government so that they will compile the data in a such a manner so that suppose if they wanted to develop certain policy, they will able to do. The second thing that is when you are working in a social sector, it is better to create the evidence, right? So if we reporting this the detail to the department, that will be useful for all the organization in future. But again, I'm telling you, it is not compulsory, right? It is a voluntary activity that you have to respond. Now, so that is one situation, and there are some organization like yeah, they will get one photo, but
સર બ્લર થઈ રહ્યું છે.
okay, 1 minute. So now, Hina, is it clear for everyone? No.
સર સ્ક્રીન નથી શો કરતી.
Now,
No, sir.
Hina, are you able to see my screen?
No, sir.
Yeah. Now, Hina?
No, sir.
No. Uh, 1 minute. I will join again. So let us check. Now, Hina?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So sorry for some technical problem. Yeah. So I think it is visible for everyone. Now see, one of the like suppose when you open your uh, account, at that time one pop-up, you will show the one pop-up, right? You don't require to submit the detail. And now there are, in such cases, there are two situations. If you wanted to submit the detail in that cases, you have to write to the MHA. And if you don't want to submit the detail, then you are requested to keep the screenshot and store somewhere in your record, so that at least you have one evidence like this, right? So that is very simple things. So it is again voluntary activity. And there are some people will ask the questions, is there any, like doing reporting is associated with the renewal activity? Because most of the organization, they have to renew their FCR in 2021. So I think this reporting is not associated anyway with the renewal process. But it would be the beneficial if we report, if we are doing such activity and report to the government, right? So that is the very important thing. Now under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, the NGO get the very little relief as far as the TDS is concerned. That updates I would like to share with you. Like in TDS, so these are the change, so you can check, it is already shown in the slide. So this way we can up to 2021, we have to, we can do TDS related activity in this particular scale. Then employee provident fund, suppose if we are deducting the EPF from the employee account and we are depositing from our own organization share, in such cases, there is a 10% we have to give for only for the 3 months, right? So 2% we can we have to give little less, and the remaining amount that will be paid by the government, right? So now these are the dates that we have to remember for audit and income tax return 31st October 2020, and for FC4 31st December 2020, right? So there is no change for submitting the FCRA annual return. Now maybe most of the people are joined and they have attended our the workshop, but again I would like to report repeat these things. After 7th March 2019, there is one notification, and under this notification there are 9 changes happen, so that we need to remember and we have to act accordingly. So the first change is our all FC designated account and FC utilization account must have an PFMS bank account, right? So there are 62 banks so far listed. Initially, when they started at the time, around 37 banks, and immediately they have increased. At the time, it's become so somewhere around 57. And now, at present, there is 62 banks. So almost all the bank is covered. But again, we have to check whether we are in a PFMS linked bank or not. Second important change is electronically. They have added one particular word called electronically online. It means nowadays all the activity that we need to perform online only. So there is no physical documents needed. There is no hard copy documents that we need to submit. Third change that they have done is fees increase. For example, for FC registration earlier it is a 2,000 rupees, so now it is 5,000 rupees. For FC renewal earlier it was a 500 rupees, now it is 1,500 rupees, and prior permission it 1,000 rupees for earlier fee, and now it is 3,000 rupees, right? So this is the fees increase. And they have also split from ABC, so earlier we have a joint forms where we have to select the options, like we are going for a prior approval, or we are going for a renewal, or we are going for a registration, right? So now there is a separate forms, right? Now Aadhaar is not mandatory, but PAN is compulsory, right? So PAN card, at the time of application, FCRA applications, at the time of FCRA renewal application, we need to ensure that all the board members, all the executive committee members must have their PAN number, right? So that is important thing, task that we need to perform. FC4, that is a massive change, so there are lots of details that we need to submit, for FC4. 7 number provision is, that is, I think very good for those people who are missing the renewal on time, right? As you know that there is a limit, we need to apply, the FCRA renewal 6 months before the expiry date is over. So with the genuine reason, you can submit the renewal application with 5,000 rupees late fee. Right? 8 number is the 50 lakh, in prior permission. Earlier there is no limit, but now if you are not eligible for the registration, then we have one opportunity to have a prior permission, and it has a 50 lakh limit nowadays, right? So earlier it is not there. So maximum in a prior permission, we can take a permission for 50 lakh only, right? Total amount, not in one transaction. 9 number is intimation of change of trustees. Earlier we have a limit. Once if we are going to change the 50% of the trustees, and we are submitting the intimation or change. But now if you are going to change one trustee, they have to intimate to the department. Right? So these are the 9 changes that is happened after 7th March 2019. Now with the MHA, we are doing the 4 activity that we need to perform. One is because there are there are a lot of the participant, they also ask the questions related what is the basic eligibility criteria for FCRA registration. So that is one registration related activity. One activity that is renewal, then prior permissions, then change of object, trustees and plan. I tell you one thing, recently in FCRA online portal, the change of object form at form 6B is visible right now. Earlier it is not there, right? So there are many organizations who are planning, if you have changed your objectives, memorandum, even if you wanted to change your FCRA objectives, then you have to apply over here. So nowadays, forms become visible. Before, I mean, 1 month before, it is not visible, change of object forms, right? So now it is. So if any organization wanted to initiate these submissions in or intimation, nowadays they are able to do. So the 4 activity that we usually that we need to do. Then if we are understanding about the compliance part, see, it is very easy for dealing with FCRA. The only some the important things we need to remember. Otherwise, rest of the thing is very easy. So one is quarterly written filing. For quarterly written filing, we have 2 options. One is either we will submit to the MHA website, which is available. In such cases, you need to be on time, because it has a limit for the 15 days. So once the quarter is end, within 15 days, we have to submit. And the second option available is we can upload the quarterly return in our website. There are maybe one question maybe arise from you. Suppose if you have not reported to the quarterly return to the MHA, and even if you have not uploaded the quarterly return to your official website, in such cases it consider the violation of the regulation, the rules. So it is better, you either you submit to the MHA or else you upload in your website. But for our administrative, the comfort, usually we advise to organization to upload in your website, right? Because where we are free to upload anytime. Only thing is we need to disclose our quarterly return if we receive the amount. That is one thing. Change of address. Suppose if we are changing the address or objectives or bank, designated bank, or we are opening the new utilization account, or we are changing a trust. So at that time, it is our responsibility to submit the change within the 15 days of the changes happen with the competent authority. But suppose what it means, like suppose if you are changing the trustees, and if you approved by the Register of Society or the Charity Commissioner, after 15 days, that you have to intimate to the ministry. And point number 4 is COVID-19 response that we have already discussed. Right? So these are the 4 compliances part that we need to remember. Now, what MHA doing? Suppose one thing is one activity that they are performing is refuse. Once you apply for the fresh registration, you may, if they are not finding, in order, they may be refuse your application. So they may also refuse a renewal if you have not, they follow the all regulations previously. So we will, in a next slide, we will also see the what kind of the common error, that is happening by us. I'm not talking it is a, the willful error that we are doing, but somehow, a mistake by lack of awareness, it is happening, right? So how we can correct it? So refusal is because they have right to refuse the application, right? In such cases, we have one option available. From the date of refusal to 6 months, after 6 months, we can apply again. But only thing is the refusal reason, that we need to work. So there may be the various reason, that they are, the putting in the refusal letter. So that we need to read. And if we in the next year, maybe within the same year or the next year, if we fulfill this requirement, then we are also free to going ahead. The second activity that they have did is the cancellation and the suspension of the certificate. Actually, for cancellations, right now we don't have any options available. But one provision is there after the cancellation. From the date of cancellation to 3 years, after 3 years, we can apply as a fresh applicant, right? So that is we can do. So there are many organizations who face the cancellations, because the non-filing of annual returns and all these things. So in such cases, if the 3 years has been completed, so if you wanted to go for a fresh FCRA registration, you can go now, right? So that is one thing is that. In suspension, we received the 180 days the limit. At that time, we need to respond to the department and we need to claim for the restoration of our certification, right? So for at least for suspension period, we get the approximate 6 months for write our case to the department. The third one is the deemed to be ceased. So sometimes, suppose if you have not filed annual return on time, suppose if the some evidence, I mean inappropriate evidence received by the department. In such cases, they will seize your account. I mean, categorize your FCRA registration as deemed to be seized, right? In such cases, you need to write to the department in email only, because see, there is no physical meeting needed. Only the email we need to write, because all the documents or all the cases we need to submit online only. So you can write and you can know the what is the reason behind that. And suppose if you are not filing the annual return, and if you submit it, maybe if it is late, then you have to pay the penalty. But then it can automatically it is regularized. Then scrutiny. So sometime some organization if they are receiving the handsome amount from any department or any institutional funding or individual. So sometimes they will also receive scrutiny. So in that cases, they will send one standard questionnaire to the FC registered organization, and we need to reply them properly. Right. So that is the these are the 4 activity usually done by the department. Now we will discuss about the FCRA registration process. For registration process, mostly what happen, there are many organizations, they are going for FCRA registration without checking the prospects. So here I would like to request everyone, FCRA certificate, it is not as like a 12 and ATG certificate or as like not other certificate. The first thing that we need, because see, once you FCRA, it does not mean that automatically you will get the money from the abroad. No, without putting efforts, we are not able to get any money. So what the first step, those people, those organizations plan to, the going for FCRA registration. The first thing that they need to check, whether any prospect they are observing, because there are many, people, they are already, I mean, they are receiving the pack call, like if you have FCRA, we wanted to give 100 crore rupees, 200 crore rupees. I think if I asked you, the majority of the people, they are receiving such kind of the pack call. So that is not on the basis of that, don't go for FCRA application. Just check, do you have the capacity to mobilize the funding from the abroad? So that is one perspective. Second thing is, as you know, that for FCRA, there are lots of institutional funding opportunities there. We are going to discuss, the recent funding opportunity at the end of this webinar. So continue, don't leave during this webinar. And we also are going to discuss one of the incubation, the opportunity for the women's entrepreneur. So check the prospect. Do you have capacity to raise the money from the institutional funding agency? So that is one thing. So if you, the step 1, if you feel that yes, you have capacity, if you are willing to, because see, here you have to invest something. Once you have FCR, it does not mean that automatically you get the money. Right? Because here there is one provision is also there. So far, department has not taken any initiative. But suppose if 2 consecutive years, if you are filing the nil report, on the basis of that, they will, they cancel your certificate. So suppose if you are filing the every year nil return, in such cases, either you can face the cancellations or you can also not get the renewal, because department feel that you have 2 years, within 2 years you are not able to mobilize any foreign funding. So I think to having a FCRA certificate from with you, it may be not appropriate. So check the possibility, and once you FCRA certificate, then also plan the efforts, because in a funding part, I have also experienced that many organizations, they are not putting their significant efforts, So that things we need to, develop within the, we need to build the capacity within the organization. So that is one part. Step 2 is check the eligibility. Like, see, I think an FCRA certificate is not a difficult job. It is very easy. Now, what they are checking? So FCRA Act is only thinking, only having a purpose to check, acceptance and utilization. It means acceptance from you are getting the money from the legitimate source, and you are going to utilize the money from the legitimate source on activity only. So that is only concern about that. So if you are a genuine organization, and if you are if you have long-term commitments, if you are working with the society with your 100% commitment, then there is no issue about it. But one thing that I observe, what is our limitation that I'm telling you? There are many organizations, they are very genuine in nature. They are doing good with the society. They don't have any malified intention, but they don't have ability to create the evidence of the activity, because see, here the evidence of activity is mostly needed. So I'm telling you that I give you the one particular advice to everyone for the renewal purpose or for the registration purpose, at least create the strong evidence of your activity. Now how it happened? What is the methodology, or which methodology you can follow? So one thing that is one activity that you can do, that you can take the certificate of appreciation from your all partners or where you are working. Like suppose if you are working in a village area, take the certificate from the panchayat. If you are working with with any organization, if you are giving a sub grant to them, take a certificate of appreciation from them. Develop the habit to create the press note, in a local media. So see, media people are ready to to give the highlight to your activity, but we are not reporting to them. So what happens? Such kind of the documents will create the external evidence. Like say our internal evidence we have, like we have list of beneficiary, we have photographs, maybe we have video recording. I think in that cases there are chances to manipulate the document. But external documents having a more validity, right? So you can also create the Facebook page and write a story about your organization activity. That will really essential to showcase the activity, and it will also the increase your branding among the people. I will tell you the one thing that we need to, and if you are FC registered organization, one thing that you need to avoid, that is on political comments. So individually you may be connected with some or maybe a soft corner with any political party. But I would suggest, or on the Facebook or in the wall of the organization pages, don't the spread your any political statements from your pages. Not neither. Not about the BJP or any other political party. You just be neutral and write only your organization. So stay away from any political comment from your social media organizational account, not your individual account. So that is the second thing. So prepare a strong evidence, right, about the activity, so that once you have activity, you are a genuine organization, and it will increase our merit. Third thing, that is the stage of applications. After application, there will be inquiry from Intelligence Bureau. So they will come for the physical verifications. So whenever I'm telling you the one open things, this is also this program is live in social media. So whenever the IP Intelligence Bureau people come to you, never offer a bribe. Sometimes our concern is to get the certification, but not in such cases, not offer any kind of the bribe. Just to be honest and showcase your documents, whatever documents that you have, and prepare the all, as I said, prepare all the documents in a well structured manner. Check that the clarity of the documents. Sometimes the people are having a photograph which is which is not appropriate, selfie kind of thing. So at least we need to create a good documents habit. So create success story, maybe video documentary. Prepare a 2 to 3 minutes, the documentary evidence and showcase them. That will be fine for the investigation purpose. For the second thing is inform all the trustees. Because see, sometimes what happen, we are not informing to other board members. See, for in FCRA cases, whenever you are applying for a renewal, ask the resolutions in the governing board. If you are going for a fresh for the fresh applications or the first time applications, pass the resolution in the board and take the board approval for FCRA. And that is very much essential, because sometimes we are not able to prepare such kind of documents. And there may be certain query, if the department observe, the lacking of certain documents, mismatching between trustees and that is listed in the memorandum of association, so they will have query. And point number 5 is registration or the refusal, so that is the things. Now, what are the documents that we needed? So for FCRA registrations, we need these 4 documents, right? Like registration certificate and all the documents that either we need in English only. So if you are in a vernacular language, you can notarize it, and all the documents must be self-certified, right? So registration certificate, a memorandum of association, last 3 years audit report, and last 3 years annual report. Right? So when we talk about the last 3 years annual report, it means year-wise annual report, not consolidated 3 years, right? Year-wise annual report that we need to prepare. And suppose if you are going for a prior permission, right? So when we talk about eligibility, as you know, the eligibility, that is the 2 points that we need to understand for the eligibility perspective. One is the 3 years, from the date of registration to 3 years, organization must have completed. And the second one is they have 10 lakh rupees consolidated expenditures against the objectives. So that 2 objective for, the 2 criteria is there for registration purpose, and registration having a 5 years validity. And for if you are going for a prior permission, suppose if you are not having a 10 lakh rupees, the expenditures against the object, and if you not have completed the 3 years in such cases, you are free to go for a prior permission. But you need 2 additional documents. One is donor commitment letter. Right? So here you may have a multiple donor commitment letter you can also attach. And the second one is project reports, So the 2 things that you need to attach additionally for the prior permission purpose. Right? And for the renewal, it is very simple. As I said, we need to prepare appropriate activity evidence, and we need to submit the renewal application before the 6 months expire of our certificate. Now, FCRA objective. Mostly, if you see your FCRA registration certificate, you are free to select either all the objective or maybe any objective which is for your choice. Like suppose if you are going for education, you are free to select education, or only one condition that we need to remember, that our memorandum of association or our bylaws or our trust deed must be permit such kind of the activity. So for example, if your bylaws are not allowing your not permitted the activity for the religious purpose, so in FCRA objective you are not able, it is not considered the religious as one of the objective for FCRA purpose, right? So you can select single or multiple, but only one thing that we need to remember, that it is matched with our memorandum of association. I also add on one particular thing, that as you know, in the recent change in the 12 and ETG, that we need to follow our bylaws and memorandum of association at the time of activity that we are doing. There are many organizations that are doing the good activity, like say all the activity that we are doing for the benefit of the society is good. But one thing that we need to remember is that whatever activity that we are performing, it is must permitted by our bylaws. So if our bylaws did not allow such kind of activity, don't do such activity because it is considered, it is a violation of the Income Tax Act. In such cases, there may be the consequences of the cancellation of the 12A certificate and all these things, right? So that things we need to remember. Now, what is the small mistake that we are doing, you know? And then we will take a question and answer. Like one thing that is a mix up a local fund. So nowadays, most of the organization are aware about this. But again, for FCRA designated account, you may have also one question. There are one question that I will keep in between. Many people ask that is there any minimum balance required for FC account? No. So suppose if you open, you know, the account in any bank, you just, because there is already bank charter available in the MH's website, and if you need, we will also share with you. In a bank charter, it is also mentioned for FCRA account, there is no minimum balance is required, and they will not put your bank account in operative mode even there is no transaction is happening. Right? So for that purpose, what you can do that you can write your take your letterpad and write to the bankers and attach the bank charter. You know, which is you can directly download from the MH's website and take a print and give to the bank manager. Right? So that they will not put your account in inoperative manner mode, or they will not deduct any money, you know, which is the normally happen for non-maintenance of the account and all these things. So that is one thing. So never mix up the local funds. So that is one thing. Second thing, that is once you are going for FCRA registrations, you know, and we need to give them one bank account number. So here I would like to advise you to open a always fresh account. What happens sometimes, you know, there are some organization, they have a multiple account, and out of that they are giving one account. I would suggest that though you have a multiple account, but for FCRA purpose, open always a fresh account and give that, right? So it will be, because see, when you are giving the old account, they will also checking your earlier transaction, and maybe suppose if your old account, it may have a suppose high value case transaction, so unnecessarily they will investigate little more things about you. So instead of doing these things, just open a fresh account. So there is no restrictions. You can also give your older account. The only thing is they will also check your previous transaction history. And if it is a most case transaction and all the stuff, you know, they will also check. So it is better to have a fresh account. And a second point is internal bank transfer. See, from designated account to utilization account, transaction is permissible. Even there is utilization, there are one organization, they may have a multiple utilization account. So that account, that is not completely prohibited. The department insists that, you know, that they have issue the advisory that at least you avoid, you know, such kind of internal bank transfer between utilization account to one utilization account to other utilization account. But it is not completely prohibited, right? So that things we need to remember. The FCRA object, you know, so donor object here, purpose is any donor is giving money to you for any respective purpose, so it is our responsibility to utilize with the same purpose only. So for your accounting purpose, suppose if you are receiving the fund for multiple purpose, you are requested to create a separate head for each one, like for social, for educational, for economical, all these things, right? And utilization object, so it means I'm telling you for FCRA what happens. Suppose once we receive the FC certificate, so we got the permission to take the money from the abroad, but at the time of utilization, we are free to do any activity normally, but we need to check whether the FCRA objective is matched with the utilization objective or not. So I will take you one example. Like suppose in FCRA objective, you have not taken the religious as one of the activity. For utilization purpose, if you are utilizing the money for the religious activity, and it is considered as a violation of the act, right? So that things we need to remember. Point number 5, high value case transaction is not advisable. So as you know that there is a limit, and in FCRA advisory they have mentioned that whenever there is a need of giving the payment to other party, always give through the check if the amount is more than 2,000 rupees. And as you know, the Income Tax Act put the ceiling of the 10,000 rupees. So that we need to follow. In FCRA, it is a 2,000 rupees. Non-filing of return. So if you are not receiving any money, so we have to file the returns. Not intimated while the changing of address, trustees or bank. Even within the society, I mean within the city, within the state, if you are changing your address, it is our responsibility to update them. I said point number is take care if you are working in the field of advocacy. So when you are working in the field of advocacy, at the time, you need to be more accurate with all the kind of the things, because when you are fighting with the government, so government can also the take your all the evidence things that we are doing. So take care if you are in this particular business. Personal expenses from FCA can never do such kind of the activity. So there are some organization who are also taking the credit card against the fixed deposit of FCA, right? So don't do that such kind of the activity. Income generated from FC is FC only, right? So that we need to remember. We have only one assumption that only the donation that we receive from the abroad is FC. No, FC, any income that is arise from the FC project, that is also FC. So that we not also need to deposit in the designated account only, right? So for example, if you are running, I mean if you have like a building and if you are taking the rent, right? Suppose if it is a mixed project, in such cases you can identify, right? Rationally you can identify. So you divide the amount. Suppose if you have constructed building with the FC and non-FC fund, in such cases you can divide percentages. These are the amount that you need to deposit in FC account, and this percentage that you need to account in domestic account. That is our own responsibility. Administrative expenses. So in FCRA there is a limit of 50% of administrative expenses, right? So that we need to remember. Then annual returns. Annual returns is the 31st December is the last. That we need to remember, and once our audit is ready, it is better we can submit, right? Suppose if you are having a nil report, and purpose you don't require to take a chartered accountant certificate from the chartered accountant, all these things. So without this you can submit the nil return. So management committee, if you are changing the key functionaries, immediately within the 15 days intimate them. Change of address, within 15 days intimate them. Redeposit unspent amount. Suppose if you have given the advances from your FC account, and if you somehow if you are getting back this money, you are free to allow this thing. It is clearly mentioned in the bank chart. I mean, chartered for the bankers. That bankers, there are certain transaction is legitimate in the nature. So suppose if any advances that's come back to you, you are free to deposit again in your FC account. So there is no issue about it. We need to remember that administrative expenses not exceed, not increase more than 50%. But three organization is excluded over here. One is educational institutions, because mostly they have overheads of salary. Medical, I mean hospitals, and third one is research institutions, right? So for the salary that is considered for the program expenses, not administrative expenses, right? So mostly if we talk about administrative expenses, consulting fees, traveling allowances for the board members, right, documentation fees, accounting related fee, or we can say the back office expenses considered as a administrative expenses. Program expenses, it means the program staff, direct contribution to the beneficiary, like this, right? And transfer of fund to the FC to FC, FC registered organization to FC registered other organization. You can transfer. For that purpose, there is no limit, right? The only thing is the purpose need to be clear. So you are allowed to do the sub granting to the FC registered organization. But suppose if you wanted to transfer the FC to non-FC registered organization, then only the limit is 10%, and for that purpose we need to submit FC5 for the prior permission. So without permission, you are not allowed to submit. I mean, you are not allowed to transfer this money. Award and utilization is not considered. Price is not considered as a FCRA. Utilization of 85%, not only for FCRA. So it is general, as per the Income Tax Act. It is a general that you need to consider. So total domestic and FC. So FC must be shown in ITR. So there will be a separate column for that. We need to show over there. Panchayat consider as a legislature. So FC money you cannot directly grant to the panchayat accounts, right? You can work with the panchayat. I mean, you are work with the rural development related projects, but you cannot directly give money to the panchayat accounts for any kind of the object, the objective. So that because we are not allowed to give this money to the legislature. So panchayat considered as a legislature and FC money cannot directly given to the panchayat. But yes, you can work with the panchayat directly, right? Not give direct amount to the panchayat. Suppose if you wanted to build the road, you can do, but you spend the money from your account only. Take a statutory approval from the panchayat. If you wanted to construct library, do that, right? Take the statutory approval from the panchayat and do, but don't transfer money in the panchayat account and spend it, right? And develop the habit at the end of the project. You take a certificate of appreciation from the panchayat body. It will be secondary evidence that is created. If it is a possible, give the press note in a local media, in a newspaper, right? So for the secondary evidence. Loan or deposit. See, suppose if you are running the FC project and if you are facing the issues of liquidity, and in such cases you are free to take a loan from the domestic account, but only the provision is you don't require to transfer the money, right, to the designated account. But you can keep a separate record, utilize the money. Once your FC comes, you can settle this account. And schedule lending. Schedule lending, it means there are sometimes, as I said, there are many organizations, they are receiving the call. Like we are giving 100 crore rupees and you have to give the 20% back, 30% back. I think most of the people are receiving such call, So in FCRA, it is not possible and not permitted. Right? So there is a strict regulations against that. So don't do this kind of activity. Speculative investment. Speculative investment, it means we are not allowed to use the FC money to invest in a mutual fund, right? So that things we need to remember. We have discussed we need a designated account, right? Any PFMS listed bank. Assessment year 2012 and 30, there is a one particular rule is if any FC, registered organization receive more than 1 crore rupees in any financial year, then income tax authority will investigate that documents anytime. So they have a right. But whenever they will come to you, they will inform you, right? So we need to be conscious, and that's why I'm telling you, schedule lending. So if you are bypassing this money, if you are taking some certain amount of money from donors and you are bypassing the money, you will immediately, they identify by the department, and then maybe for that purpose, the separate, the cases and all the prosecutions will be initiated. So don't do such kind of activity. Work with and most of the things I have seen that it is a fact, the call. And donation without knowledge. Suppose if your FC account, if you receive the donation without your knowledge, and there will be a separate penalty for 5,000 rupees or 3% of total deposited amount, and whichever is higher, right? That is one thing is I would like to clear over here. Donation taking from the NRI is not the FC. Most of the people are making the mistake over here. I'm telling you, and I'm also giving you the logic. So NRI is not is not the foreign citizen. They are only not living in India. So NRI, it means non-resident Indian. They are not living in India. They are living outside of the India. So if any NRI person is transferring their money from their personal saving account, right? In such cases, kindly consider this donation as a domestic account. Never deposit in FC account, because money received from the NRI, it is not FC. That is number one. Second thing is we have also OCI and PIO card holder, right? So OCI and PIO are overseas citizens of India, right? And this citizen is not considered as the citizen of India, because they have surrendered the Indian citizenship. They have certain privilege for the investment coming to the India without taking any visa. But OCI and PIO card, person of Indian origin, sorry, PIO card holder, both the person is not Indian citizen. So if you are taking money from the PIO and OCI card holder, it is a naturally FC, right? But NRI, it is not FC. But whenever you are taking the money from the NRI, at that time you just take the passport copy to claim that the person is Indian citizen, right? So that is only one thing that we need to remember, right? That is number one. Second thing is, suppose if any NRI person is doing some charity activity on behalf of you, right? Like in UK or maybe in USA or in Africa or any other country, like in a Gulf countries. So if they are doing some charity show on behalf of you, and if they are collecting money from different person, and if they are depositing in your account, in such cases it is FC. So only one thing that is we need to remember is, if any NRI are transferring their money from their personal account, that is not FC. But if any NRI, if they are transferring their money from their company account, because it means FC, if we read the FC definition, it is very clearly mentioned that any entity that is settled or established in the foreign country considered as a FC. So once they establish the company over there, it means it's become a separate legal entity. Right? So in such cases, it is considered FC, right? So that we have to deposit in a FC designated account. So renewal period, they have renewal registration. They have normally it is a 90 days limit. Usually no, they are it is mostly it is delay. Time limit for getting the registration that we have experienced from 4 months to 18 months. It is a very long period usually that they happen. I don't know, but it is true. Maybe you have a similar experience. Intimation of quarterly receipt of FC that we have already discussed, either in a website or in our website or MH's website. Report to the local CBI police department. Sometimes some of the organization are receiving some letter from the district police officers, right? Whether you have received FC or about your activity. So don't ignore such letters. Whenever you receive such kind of the letter, just submit. If it is a nil, don't ignore it. Sometimes we assume that we don't have any activity for this particular month, so we are not replying to the department. So don't do this activity. Reply. If it is a nil, nil, right? So that is the thing that we need to remember. So these are the things that I already shared. Let us take a question. So I hope that there may be a question in a chat box. Yeah. Donation to NRI from their foreign bank account, say in US, it is FC, can be deposited in a regular rupees account. See, as we discussed, see here, bank channel is not important. That we have to understand. In FCRA, it is clearly mentioned. Foreign source, it is the first definition that they have given in the Act. So foreign source is important. So anything that we receive from the foreign source, that we need to deposit in a designated account. So here you understand, NRI is not considered as per the definition, is not a foreign source, right? So foreign source, if we receive anything from the foreign source, then we need to deposit it in a FCRA designated account. You can take an NRI donation in a designated account. And okay, myself, very good. Yes, donation from NRI individual should be considered as a donation from the individual. Yes, sir. It is not institutional. Yes, now the new category is OCI, right? But just I have shared with you because of this particular terminology is also there. Because recently they have changed the terminology. It is considered earlier it was a PIO, but now it is a OCI. But OCI cardholder, they are also foreign citizens. So any question, you are feel free to write in a chat box. There are certain questions that we also received at the time of registration that we also taken. There are like, one question is there, what is the limit of taking the FC money in a designate? So there is no limit. You can take any kind of the amount. Only thing is we need to take from the legitimate source, right? That we need to remember. Yes, program staff salary is not administrative expenses. Okay, very good. So audience, we have very good audience. They're also replying. So if yeah, one question is like it is also already there in at the time of registration. It is compulsory to have a 12-way certificate before applying FCRA. So see, in a law, it is not mentioned that we need it is a compulsory, but it is advisable, right? Because once you have a 12-way certificate, then you have a you can claim that because a 12-way certificate establishes that you are a charitable in nature organization, you are doing the charitable activity, or you have initiated a reasonable charitable activity. It is a proof of once your 12-way certificate. So it is always have a 12-way certificate before applying the FCRA. So all the board members, all the key functionaries, that they have to submit, the affidavits. So that we have already discussed. So for 12 and 80G, for that purpose, next Sunday we have a separate webinar, and we will also share the link with you. So wherein we are giving the hands-on training, how to submit because 12 and 80G, there will be 1st October, there is a new rule. So we will also going to discuss these things. Yeah, so most of the things I think we have taken during our discussion, but still, if you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions. I have sent the questions where asked the name of government office department approached by the NGO while filing of the COVID-19. See, in such cases, what you need to do is like suppose if you are working if you have taken any support from the collector office or any block office or anywhere, in such cases you have to write down uh, the name of this particular office, or else if you have done all the activity in that cases you don't require to uh, write down the name of the offices. After compounding, still we have to apply for renewal again. Yes, see, renewal once the 5 years is completed, again we have to go for a renewal. And there are many cases. I'm telling you. Suppose if you have violated the rules and if you pay the penalty, then they will restore. They will give the renewal also. So that is also happen, right? And suppose if your FCR is cancelled, and in the meantime if you've taken because see it is happen. What happened that you know that your FCR is cancelled, but bank not have a separate communication to the bank. So bank in a bank you see your registration status online is cancelled, but you have FC account in a bank. So bankers are permitted, because banker don't know anything about your organization. They don't receive separate notification. So sometimes they are permitting, the FC transaction in your account. But at the same time, they're also reporting to the MHA. So whenever you are going for a price application, renewal, at that time they are charging the penalty, right? And once you pay the penalty, they will restore or they will give the sum. Okay, very. See, in FC refusal letter, maybe if you take your maybe you will receive the separate letter, or maybe if you see your application status, they have also mentioned that what is the reason. So they will write down the particular clause under the FCRA Act. So you need to understand it. And suppose if anyone wanted to take help from our side, you just share your copy to, detail to us. We will also guide you in what basis your case or your FCR has been refused. This FCR application has a fees. See, I'm telling you the one thing is mostly we don't have a concept of dual citizenship. So one once the person is accepting the citizens of abroad, it means for that purpose we have to consider them FC. See, one cases that is happening with the USA, like green card holder. So green card holder, it means they are not the citizens of USA. They are getting the privilege, certain privilege, so they are not considered the citizen of USA. So in such cases, they are also NRI. Yes, they can deposit. Sai Padma ma'am, they can directly deposit in domestic account. How do you provide the consulting for FCRA? Yes, we are. See, our primary job is to build the capacity of the organization, to raise the fundings, to help them to various legal compliances. We are also doing. How to pay common expenses out of FCRA accounting, example, HR account salary. See, normally, see, whenever you are giving money, because see, like say one thing is natural. It is a very natural instance that we are going to understand is like organization running the multiple projects, and there is one staff, they are also working in a one project, it is non-FC, and the another project is FC project. So one staff, one person is working in both the project. So in such cases, on a rational basis, you can identify or you can split the salary and you consider the FC and non-FC. So can we buy land? Yes, from NRI donor without FCRA account. Yes, see, normal. I'm telling you, the one thing is donation from NRI is not FC. So for that purpose, you don't require to take a certificate from department. And once you have money, you can purchase. Even you can also free to purchase the FC asset. So there is no provisions, right? So, like the last question that I read, the Renewal project is the FCRA cancelled in 2018. So now you have to at least wait 1 year. After 3 years, you can apply as a fresh applicant. Right? New trust directly FCRA, how to applicant for the like see for a new like newly established organization not allowed to go for a FCRA registration. You have one option to go for a prior permission, but not immediately. At least we have to finish 1 year and then you are allowed to go. See, normally it is a provision is there, but like suppose if you are filing the nil return, it may be. Oh, I'm confirmed, but it might have chances that you will not get the renewal. So here, what I mean to say, once you have FCR, it means you need to put your efforts, and at least once you do the efforts, you will definitely get the responses. We'll also see. No, nowadays everything is online. There is no hard copy. Right? So like see, suppose sometimes if you are receiving the money, foreign source, it is already defined. You know that we need to understand, and if it is a if any company, like multinational company is giving fund to you, so if you see that shareholder, return and all these things, if they are in a within the limit of FDA permission, then it is considered as a non-FC, right? But if it is a beyond that, that is a that you have to consider FC, their CSR, right? Like not able to see FC new utilization account getting error message, what to do? So suppose if you are facing any kind of this issue, you can write to the director, the FCRA. Like one question that we received from registration, like suppose if any error happen at the time of submissions or at the time of return filing, so is there any so far there is no particular provision of we can file the revision, we can do the revision. You can write mail to the director FCRA with the apology So maybe at least one evidence is there, and you don't have intention to file the wrong data. Right. So modification it is not permitted, but you can write an email to the department. Yes. So suppose FC money is a little bit delay. In such cases, you are also permitted to take a loan from non-FC or from any individual to run your FC program. Once it's the FC comes, you can give back this money. We are not giving a definite reason for the MOJ. It must be there. Yes, so loan you are free to allow to take this loan. Yeah. So there are many questions. So maybe you can also ask the personally, and we'll also reply you one by one because it is already there in your registration form. So, like, see, suppose if you are not, appropriately working with the department, and what has happened? Is there any penalty? So, yes, there is a different kind of the penalty. Like, suppose if you are taking money without 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 having a valid FCRA license, then you have to pay 10,000 rupees hospitality. If you are without permission, if you are accepting the foreign hospitality, transfer of FC to any other person who does not have a registration or prior permission, then there is a penalty for 1 lakh rupees or 10%, whichever is higher. So without taking permission, if you are transferring money, violation of the 50% limit of admin, then there is a 5% or 1 lakh rupees penalty is there. Accepting FC without registration or prior permission, then there is 1 lakh rupees or 10 lakh rupees total amount, whichever is higher. So these are the various penalties there, right? And nowadays, and one question is also there: is there any provision for the waive of penalty? No, we have to pay the penalty. Even we have seen the many cases, and we also help the many cases, but they have to pay the penalty. So one organization that we know that they have pay the penalty 35 lakh rupees. So it is so suppose if you have not followed the rules, if you have violated certain things, you have to pay the penalty. Even if you don't have access, suppose some cases it is also happen at this time you are not receiving the FCRA money, but you are holding the FC asset. I'm telling you, suppose if you are holding the FC asset, and after it is and you need to continue your FCRA, because without having a valid FCRA registration, you don't have the right to hold the FC asset. Right? So you need to continue, and if you have an FC asset, in such cases you don't like suppose if you're filing the nil return, then in such cases you don't face the cancellations, right? Because you hold the FC asset. And once you have FC asset, and if you are getting a renting, and that is one latest thing is also I'm telling you, that idle FC asset. There are some organization, they have an idle FC asset. They have FC asset, but they're not using it. So what you can do that suppose if you have surplus assets, suppose if you have surplus infrastructure, either you can identify some organization and you can give them for the activity purpose, right? Either you charge a token rent, or you can share the revenue, or anything you can do the arrangement, but use them, don't idle asset. It means not based on your self declaration. Sometimes the local people is also reporting to the department, and the local office bearer will also come to you, and they will check what is happening with your FC asset. So make sure that your all FC assets must be utilized reasonably in nature, right? So suppose if you don't have any activity, identify any organization having a good activity and give them for the using purpose, right? So that would be fine. Right? So that is one thing that it is good. There are two benefits. One is your asset will be utilized appropriately. There will be a clean, once it is utilized, it will be remain safe. And the second thing is you are also helping the grassroots organization, right? So that is we need. Then accepting FC in any account other than the designated account. See, without, and in such cases 1 lakh rupees or 5% is penalty is there. Non-reporting such amount by the banks and concerned entity, in such cases 1 lakh rupees or 3% or amount so received for deposit whichever is higher. Non-FCRA fund deposited in the designated account. I mean mixing 1 lakh rupees or 2%, whichever is higher. So in all the cases 1 lakh rupees penalty is fixed. Non-intimation of FC, receipt of FC as per the section 18, in such cases 1 lakh rupees or 5% penalty is there, right? So there are lots of penalty provision. And non-maintenance of account. See, we for FCRA we have to maintain the separate account, right? Separate account, it means we need to maintain the separate receipt, separate asset register, separate fixed deposit register if you are maintaining physically, if it is online. So separate account we need to separate ledger, separate incoming expenditure, separate recipient payment, and separate balance. So that things we need to remember. So make sure that your account, because see at the time of renewal everything will be analyzed, right? Because see at the time of fresh application maybe your account will not be analyzed. Why? Because you are not FC registered organization and therefore you don't require to follow the FCRA regulation. But at the time of regulations you are required to or abide to follow the FCRA regulations, and therefore you need to maintain the account separately on the case basis or accrual basis or hybrid, whatever methods you follow, but it must be separate, right? Then non-submission of return, there is a penalty, so we will not discuss because the slide is you can see within 30 seconds. So like from 3 months to 3 years, so 3 years you have a maximum penalty is 10 lakh rupees or 10%. Here there is one provision is there, whichever is lower, right? So that is one relief, the small relief that we have from our end if we miss. But never miss. Suppose if you are initiate the FC return, for that purpose you don't require a consultant. You can do all the activity by self, right? There are some organization who forgot their password. In such cases, you are free to write FCRA department. There is also provision. Suppose because what we have seen that sometimes that login credentials will be kept by the chartered accountant. So you by us, your chartered accountant, request them and at least check by you yourself also, right? And because sometimes chartered accountant they don't have much time to check your account, right? And suppose if you are in last week you're submitting to the FC return, like in the last week of December, and you forgot password, or maybe you don't have a credential, and maybe sometimes suppose if it is not opening, and if you write mail to them, so it may, if suppose if they are not replying on time, it may be the consider as a late and we have to pay the penalty, right? So better to have at least once you open your account, check. See, once you have login ID and credential, you can open each functions and check whatever the information is there. I think most of the people they are not doing this. See, if you open your account, there is no issue about it. Only thing is don't submit anything. And without information, the portal itself not allowed to submit anything. So check the detail and accordingly prepare the things, right? So so let us take the questions. And we will talk about the funding opportunity that we have recent. Question. Yes. Can unspent FC amount be carried over next year? Yes, sir. Unspent amount you can carry forward next year, definitely. See, one thing that that you need to remember, perfectly, that what is most important thing is that we need to remember is whenever you are giving any advance to your staff, take back before the settling your account. Right? This is the most important things that you need to do. Did the board members Aadhaar card is mandatory for renewal? See, Aadhaar is not mandatory. PAN number is mandatory, right? So that things that we need to ensure. Did board, yeah. So how to write off the microcredit loans bad debts? See, normally in FCRA return, usually what we are giving the reporting to the utilization, right? So income receipt and payment is there. So if is there any receivable or anything is available in a balance sheet, keep over there, right? And if you wanted to, because see here it is your own money. Once you receive the FCA, right, and if you're giving to the somebody, you can write a department. They will not ask the certain question to you. The only thing is they will ask that where that you have spent the money. Only these things, right? No, sir. For FCRA, S. Ramadevi or Ramarao from Chittur asked the question: what is need of the IMF International Monetary Fund certificate from the no, but there is no any other certificate that will be needed once we have FCRA, right? Normally, time in the take is 4 to 18 months. Yes, sir. Separate account for project-wise account. I think for FC, suppose in FC if you are running the multiple projects, so naturally you have a project-wise account, right? Project-wise separate account not needed. Separate account for whole FC is required, right? Yes, that is Manoj Bhavsar asked one question that who is the chief functionary? So normally chief functionary can be president or managing trustees of the organization, right? But suppose if organization wanted to make the chief functionary to somebody else, I mean other trustees or other office bearer, they are free to do, right? So for that purpose, you need to pass only one resolutions. Like say, suppose if some organization having a position called president, patron, or maybe chief executive officer. So if you wanted to make chief executive officer as a chief functionary, pass the simple resolutions, and they consider this person is a chief functionary for FCRA cases, so that they will be accepted. It is complete our own authority. Can we have a trust deposit of FCA test if that the project is over and it is no longer usable by the organization? See, it is very interesting question how to dispose FCA asset. Like that, see, FCA asset is remain FCA asset. And in such cases, suppose if it is in use, that you can consider it is FC asset and it is a remain in FC account. But suppose if it is a scrap and if you are selling out and you take this money into the FC account, right, and deposit in FC designated account, that is a very simple things that we need to do. So FC asset is a remain FC asset, but if you wanted to dispose it, we can dispose it, and as you know that there is a separate desktop register is there, you can write down it. If you have raised certain money, you write down that the amount that you received, or else if it is scrap and you cannot receive anything, don't worry about it. But see, appropriate reasonable grounds need to be there. Sir, in case of change of trustee, who all to the intimate to the, and what is 15 days from the change, for any change, for address, for objective, for any change, we have a the limit for 15 days. No, board member, change of board member address not required to intimate. Only organization address that required to be intimate. Yes, we need to balance it, sir. There is unspent amount is there in one financial year. Can we? Okay, so almost all the questions that we have taken. Now we are coming to the funding part, right? Now, 1 minute. Yeah. So for funding part, we have a three opportunity. One is individual donor. Second one is international development agency. Usually we are getting money over from there. And in this agency, there are two category. One list is also there. I think 100 plus agencies there. It is considered as a exempted agency. So it is not covered under the FCRA, right? So if you are receiving anything from this agency, we don't require FC certificate. So for that purpose, there is a separate list. If anyone need, just write mail to us, we will share with you. And international foundations, right? So there are a lot many international foundations. They are supporting the charitable institutions in the development countries. So I have taken 5 opportunity over here. So one is, global giving. They have also started one international programs. They have also started one international programs, and if you wanted to apply over there, you can apply. So I have shared my screen. You can see the screen, right? So they have a limit. I mean, 31st July is the last date. So if you FC certificate, you can apply over here, right? So in for FCRA funding, what what we have observed that mostly we are not putting our significant efforts, right? So there are, see, these are the last date is that we need to apply, and if you are selected, if your program is selected, you will get the opportunity to be get funding from crowd sources, right? So that is one opportunity is there. Yeah. And suppose if you are interested for the research, there is a unique, it is very unique opportunity that we have the FCRA research grant, and the area is the knowledge for action to end violence against the women and the violence against the children, right? So if any organization work in this area, and if they wanted to do the research, so they have wonderful opportunity. And for that purpose, the funding opportunity is $40,000 to $2 lakh, So that is, I think that is a big opportunity. Everything is there, all the detail is there, and last date for is 15th September, right? So you just write down in your notebooks or somewhere the FCRA research grant, right? It is exclusively for the research purpose. So, and I think it is a good amount we can consider, 40,000 rupees to $2 lakh, right? So that is second opportunity that if anyone wanted to apply, they can apply. Then one, it is moving challenge. It is a non-FC. Behati Foundation has, if anyone having, it is a very unique challenge. If anyone having ideas to against the COVID-19 solution, so they can apply for that purpose. There is chances to get grant up to 5 lakh rupees, right? So all the detail is there, and we have time to apply for that, right? So these are the ongoing opportunity that I'm sharing with you. So it is from Behati Foundations, right? If you just write down these things, write down in a Google, you will find this. Okay. And Bosch As you know, the Bosch Rexroth is one of the big company in India, globally, and the Robert Bosch Endowment Foundation, Stiftung. It means it is a German word, which is called endowment foundations. They are supporting to reduce the equality. So last date for that is 14th August 2020, right? So opportunities that there all the detail is mentioned in their website, right? So if anyone wanted to apply over there, they can apply. Then last opportunity that we are going to discuss, and then we have again 5 minutes to question and answer. We are increasing little bit 5 to 10 minutes more. Darwin Initiative, or if any organization working in the field of environment sectors, they can apply over here, right? So last date is 1st September 2020, right? So any FC registered organization having the experience to work in environment sectors, they can apply over there, right? So these are the 5 funding opportunity that I have shared with you. Just do the detailed study and apply if you feel comfortable. Nowadays, most of the field work we are not able to do. Still we have time, and we have we can prepare the proposal, if you wanted to apply. Now last the things, sorry. Now this is one program for non-startup, it is virtual incubation program for women's entrepreneurs. Like, see, there are many, the organization or early stage startup or women's, they have ideas to transform the society, right? So it is the program associated with the Startup India initiative. So if anyone having a good idea, they can apply over there. It is a virtual mentoring programs. There are huge, they will get the benefit for mentoring, fundraising, and there are different areas, so if you see this area, they have taken very different area, right? So social networking, social impact, so that things, that is already there. And last things, that I would like to share with you before taking the question and answer, that as you know that last financial budget, the honorable finance minister has announced social stock exchange, right? So SEBI has, they already prepared one of the guidelines, and it is already in the public domain up to the 15th July. So maybe the next year we have a social stock exchange. So purpose of social stock exchange is, to create the platform for impact investors and the social startup. So there will be a new things, but for that purpose we need to design the high impact sustainable project, so the upcoming upcoming opportunity is waiting for us. The only thing is we need to the design the good programs which is sustainable in nature, right? So let us take the last questions, and we will also give you the certificate of participation to all the members. For that purpose, we will share the link. Sir, my email ID is there. Okay. So we will also share you the certificate of participant to everyone, right? So let us take a questions, and I will now stop sharing my screen. Yeah. So let us see the questions. Very good. So I think so. Most of the questions that we have taken. So if anyone wanted to ask the questions, Gilbert, you are very much advanced. So I mean, we are planning to organize one webinar on social stock exchange. So wait, at least 15 days. We are making, identifying the expert. So there will be separate, the discussion for SSC. Yes, there is always opportunity for non-FCRA registered organization. It is also there. Okay. Let us see if any question is there. One question is, I look, like suppose if any demise of any trustees, the only thing is we don't require to inform about the demise. But if you are changing, if you are replacing the board member, then you have to inform to the department, right? Because the only thing is when you are onboarding the new trustees at that time, it is our responsibility to inform or intimate to them. Okay, so renewal from the respective effect and date. See, for renewal, we need to check in FCRA. There is always there is one particular tab button. There you can also check the validity of your certificate. Right? You can go in FCRA online portal and check the validity of certificate. And normally, from date of registration, it will expire immediate after 5 years. So before 6 months, we have to apply. So, for example, if our certificate expire in the month of January 2021, so in such cases we have to consider 5 months back, like January, then December, November, October, September, and August. So we have to apply in August, right? So 6 months before we have to apply. And see, suppose there are many cases, that is also, I am telling you the one thing. Suppose your renewal period and expiry period, it is sometimes, you will not get the certificate. So meantime, you are not allowed to take FC money because your certificate is under renewal process. So don't take any money, right? If your certificate limit is expired, suppose if you are not getting the certificate on time, and for like 1st January 2021, your certificate get expired. So after 1st January 2021, you are not allowed to take FC unless and until it is renewed by the government. So for that purpose, we need to stop, or we need to say our donor, we are not allowed to take right now because certificate is under renewal process. Right? So that things we need to remember. So any other questions? Hina, you are just share the feedback form, and I will also share our next webinar detail with you. That is on hands-on training on FCRA. 12 and ATG, how you can renew. So if you wanted to register, you can register over here. So I'm sharing you the link for our next webinar on next Sunday for this. Yeah, please also, and we also need your feedback about about your experience with us, and I really appreciate your time, your patient listening, and your the engagement. Right. So still, I am 5 to 10 minutes. We will be here. See, Mr. Arvind, working area for advocacy means if you are taking up any right-based initiative, right? Right-based initiative means what? Like if you are taking the issues of tribal rights, like issues of land rights, so all kind of this issue, where mostly you have to fight with the government, like if you are submitting the PIL against the government, where you are creating the awareness. See, the issue is not wrong, but only thing is, and if any donor wanted to donate, give the money for this purpose, you can utilize it. The only thing is, for that purpose, you need to be accurate, because you are fighting with the government, and you should, as you know, that in our structures, government will also analyze your books of account and all books of account and all these things. So it it is sometimes revenge kind of the feeling. So that at that time we need to take care of it. If everything is fine as per the norm, then there is no issue about it. We don't need to worry about it. But one thing that we need to clear, that don't create any soft political corner with any political party. Otherwise, what happen? The ministry will consider you as an organization in political nature. So once they declare you as an organization in political nature, then you are not allowed to take, you are not allowed to take the foreign money. Ina, share a feedback form. And you can also write down the feedback over here also. Within 1 minute, you will receive the feedback. Ina, are you able to hear me? So one question last, can you please let us know that whether the global giving receiving clearance from MH as of now, the last 1 year, they cannot send the funding to India, and how we are informed to our bank to CG, money cannot be. See, mostly this is the crowdfunding platform, I think, and they have started, the advertise these things. It means we can participate. But we will check, and we will also update you. That is the Shohini Chakrabarti. It is a very good question. We will take, and we will reply you separately. Ina, have you shared the feedback form?
Yes, I will, sir.
Yeah, please do fast. People are waiting. So thank you for your yes, Gilbert. I read it, and see, this is the feedback form from where you will get the certificate. The link is there. You can check and submit your feedback. Even if your question is there, within 2 to 3 working days, you will get the certificate of participation, right? So I will also share my own numbers with you, with everyone. If you wanted to discuss with your any matters, we will happy to help you. See, our primary concern is to build the capacity of the non-profit sector. और कभी-कभी हम बताते हैं कि वैसे एनजीओ को गैर सरकारी संस्थान भी बोला जाता है हिंदी में, लेकिन ये गैर सरकारी संस्थान है, वो गरीबों की सच्ची सरकार है, right? So that particular things, that we are serving to the society, and our role for the society is, the very crucial, and we are really instrumental to making the new Indias. But only the one thing that is missing, that our effort has not been recognized, because it is we have not compiled the what impact that we have created so far. So we all people are very good with the working with the community, working with the different group. But I'm missing one component that I feel that we improvement is needed is for creating the evidence, creating the success stories, mapping our impacts, because that things we are not doing. So mostly we are, the avoiding it. It is my humble request to everyone, just equally focus on the preparation of documents. And for that purpose, you hire an intern. There are lots of quality interns available, and they are with very reasonable amount, they will work for you. So from development sector institutions, from social work institutions, you hire the intern. You give them internship opportunity and give them a task, not to give any other task. Give them a task to prepare only on documentation or evidence, prepare the success story. So this is the very good opportunity to showcase our strength, right? So thank you very much for joining us today. We are a 260 plus participant. We received the nomination for 500 plus. So we really appreciate your faith on us, your support, and your well wishes towards us. So thank you again. And with permission of all of you, I would like to close the session over here. So thank you so much. Thank you.